The Japan Meteorological Agency, JMA, issued its highest level 5 emergency warning, an explicit life-threatening situation decree, at 6:20 a.m. local time on Thursday, August 27th, 2026, as catastrophic, record-shattering linear precipitation zones locked over central and northwestern Japan. An unprecedented atmospheric configuration has dumped more than 480 millimeters of rain in less than 12 hours across the Hokuriku and northern Chubu regions. This sudden deluge has breached at least 14 major river systems, triggered hundreds of destructive debris flows, and cut off entire municipalities from the national transportation grid. As of Thursday afternoon, local authorities have issued mandatory evacuation orders for approximately 180,000 residents across 5 core municipalities in Ishikawa and Toyama prefectures. The hardest hit areas include Hakui City, Shika Town, Hodatsushimizu Town, Nakanoto Town, and Himi City. The crisis is intensely compounded by a dark historical reality. Much of the affected terrain lies within the Noto Peninsula and its immediate periphery. The exact geographic footprint, heavily fractured and structurally destabilized by the catastrophic 7.6 magnitude earthquake on January 1st, 2024. With topsoil already loosened, mountain slopes cracked, and regional drainage basins compromised by past seismic shifts, the extraordinary rainfall has accelerated geomorphic failures. Entire hillsides are collapsing onto roads, houses, and rivers, creating a dynamic multi-hazard emergency that has overwhelmed local first responders. In Tokyo, the central government has converted the Prime Minister's official Residence Crisis Management Center into a full-scale emergency disaster response headquarters. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi, speaking in a televised briefing, confirmed that elements of Japan's Ground Self-Defense Forces, SDF, have been deployed under emergency dispatch protocols to execute air extractions, build hasty levee reinforcements, and clear arterial supply lines. According to satellite and radar arrays analyzed by the JMA's Climate Division, the disaster is driven by a highly stable, back-building meteorological structure known as a linear precipitation zone, LPZ. A strong atmospheric trough moving southward over the Sea of Japan ran directly into an exceptionally warm, vapor-rich marine boundary layer. Fueled by sea surface temperatures that are running 2.5 degrees Celsius above historical averages, this moisture-laden system slammed into the mountainous spine of Ishikawa and Toyama prefectures. Blocked by the topography, the storms formed a self-sustaining train of convective cells. Instead of moving across the island, these cells renewed themselves over the exact same coordinate tracks for 10 consecutive hours, dropping water at intensities exceeding 100 millimeters per hour in localized pockets. At approximately 6:20 a.m., Hakui City became the epicenter of urban panic when civil defense sirens sounded the level 5 alert across all central channels. The city sits within a low-lying geographic basin that receives drainage from several mountain streams before emptying out toward the coast. Within 90 minutes of the LPZ's arrival, the downtown district of Higashikawaramachi was completely underwater. The city's concrete storm drainage network, engineered for 50 millimeters of rain per hour, was instantly overwhelmed. Runoff accumulated in the streets, transforming flat boulevards into dangerous, mud-choked torrents, traveling at speeds of over 15 kilometers per hour. Eyewitness accounts describe personal vehicles being lifted off their tires and floated down streets until jamming into structural facades. At least 40 civilian vehicles were abandoned along major thoroughfares as water depths surged past 1.2 meters, breaching car cabins and forcing drivers to wade through chest-deep currents to find solid ground. Municipal response units have deployed inflatable rescue zodiacs and flat-bottomed civilian watercraft to navigate the flooded grid. The primary effort is centered on extracting elderly residents from single-story wooden residential blocks and the ground floors of commercial shops. Complicating matters, the local drinking water treatment facility on the outskirts of Hakui experienced a catastrophic backflow event as floodwaters breached the perimeter retaining walls. This has contaminated the clean water reservoirs, forcing the city to cut off municipal water supplies to more than 18,000 homes. Further north along the rugged peninsula, Wajima City presents a stark scene of overlapping disasters. The scars of the January 1st, 2024 earthquake are everywhere. Rebuilding sites, temporary housing complexes, and fragile hillsides held together by temporary geotextile mesh. Today's intense rainfall has systematically attacked these structural vulnerabilities. At 8:15 a.m., a localized mountain slope above an established residential pocket gave way, unleashing a massive debris flow composed of hundreds of tons of saturated clay, shattered timber, and seismic debris. The mudflow roared down a narrow ravine, completely burying 2 residential structures and severely damaging 3 others. Prefectural police and local volunteer fire units have confirmed that at least 1 individual is officially listed as missing, suspected to be trapped within the debris matrix. Rescue operations are extremely hazardous. The ground remains profoundly unstable, and regular groans from the upper slopes indicate that the remaining soil layers are liquefying. The JMA has issued a stern, continuous broadcast warning that the threshold for catastrophic landslides in Wajima is currently 70% lower than typical national standards due to the prior seismic degradation of the subsurface bedrock. Hundreds of citizens who were already living in temporary prefabricated housing units have been forced to flee once again. Runoff has filled the access courtyards of these complexes, ruining personal property saved from the 2024 earthquake and plunging the local population back into an acute state of emergency trauma. Across the prefectural border on the western coast of Toyama Bay, Himi City is dealing with a severe structural crisis. The city's coastal plains are framed by steep, heavily forested hillsides that have become completely saturated by the persistent rain. Just before dawn, a massive slope failure occurred along a key section of Prefectural Road 76, the primary transportation lifeline linking Himi's coastal downtown with several isolated mountain hamlets. Over 70 meters of asphalt and retaining wall were sheared off and carried down into the valley below, effectively isolating approximately 450 households across 3 hillside communities. With the road completely gone and active landslides continuing along the valley walls, physical access by conventional emergency vehicles is impossible. Local communication links have also been severed, as falling trees tore down fiber optic lines and knocked out cellular repeaters. The Toyama Prefectural government has requested emergency air operations from the ground self-defense forces. However, low cloud ceilings, heavy rain bands, and near-zero visibility have kept rescue helicopters grounded at their home bases, forcing officials to rely on satellite tracking and emergency radio operators to check on the safety of the isolated population. Down in Himi's coastal port district, the situation is worsened by a high-tide storm surge. The bloated local rivers cannot drain effectively into Toyama Bay against the incoming ocean tide, causing seawater and river water to back up simultaneously into coastal neighborhoods. In the wide valley fields of central eastern Ishikawa, the towns of Shika, Hodatsushimizu, and Nakanoto have experienced widespread agricultural devastation. The area is defined by extensive rice paddies and agricultural plains, fed by a web of historical irrigation canals and small river systems. By mid-morning, 12 separate regional rivers had breached their banks, spilling millions of gallons of muddy, debris-laden water over the landscape. The agricultural damage is total. Thousands of hectares of rice crops, which were approaching their autumn harvest windows, are submerged under 2 to 3 meters of silt-choked floodwaters. The economic blow to local farming cooperatives is expected to run into billions of yen. Beyond the agricultural loss, the floodwaters have broken into critical utility stations. In Hodatsushimizu, an electrical substation was inundated when a protective levee gave way, triggering an immediate safety trip that cut electricity to over 9,500 rural structures. Repair crews from Hokuriku Electric Power cannot access the substation, as the access roads are covered by fast-moving water. This leaves thousands of households without power for lighting, cooking, or sump pumps right as the storm hits its peak intensity. While the core of the LPZ remains focused on Hokuriku, its outer bands are causing major problems across a wider geographic swath of Japan. In Itoigawa City, where steep mountains drop directly into the Sea of Japan, local officials issued a level 4 warning, ordering evacuations along dangerous mountain channels. Debris flows have dropped boulders and mud onto sections of the coastal rail corridor, forcing West Japan Railway Company, JR West, to halt operations along portions of the Hokuriku Shinkansen and local conventional lines. Further north, the city of Sakata has placed river monitors on high alert as water levels approach the top of flood walls. Runoff from agricultural hillsides has started to flood low-lying storage warehouses, prompting early logistics evacuations. To the south, across the mountain passes, Gunma Prefecture is facing a different set of hazards driven by the same unstable air mass. Violent atmospheric downbursts have generated intense lightning displays and large hail. In the mountain resort town of Minakami, massive lightning strikes hit 3 power transformers in a single hour, causing fires and localized blackouts. JMA radar indicators also suggested the potential formation of localized tornadoes, leading to shelter-in-place warnings for communities along the Tone River Basin. At 11:30 a.m., Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi updated the press corps from the briefing room of the Kante. We are dealing with a highly dangerous situation, where extreme, localized rainfall is striking land that remains deeply scarred and weakened by the Noto Peninsula earthquake, Hayashi stated. The risks of immediate landslide failures and large-scale river breaches are incredibly high. The government has directed all local ministries to prioritize life-saving operations above all else. Following formal requests from the governors of Ishikawa and Toyama prefectures, the Ministry of Defense authorized the immediate deployment of units from the GSDF's 14th Infantry Regiment, Kanazawa, and specialized engineering units. SDF personnel have moved heavy high-clearance transport trucks and inflatable Zodiac craft into the flooded streets of Hakui City. They are systematically moving through flooded neighborhoods to evacuate stranded residents. A fleet of UH-1J and CH-47JA Chinook helicopters is staged at nearby military fields. They are ready to fly supply missions and medical evacuations to isolated mountain communities in Himi City as soon as the weather clears enough to fly safely. Military engineers are working with local construction teams to dump thousands of heavy sandbags and concrete tetrapods along crumbling sections of the river embankments in Nakanoto and Shika towns. The MLIT has deployed a fleet of high-capacity mobile drainage pump trucks to the area. These units are trying to pump floodwaters out of electrical substations and key urban districts back into drainage channels. However, because the rivers are completely full, finding areas to dump the water remains a major challenge. MLIT engineers are also using heavy earth-moving equipment to clear mud and rocks from National Route 249, trying to open a reliable supply line into the northern peninsula. JR West suspended all operations on the Hokuriku Shinkansen between Nagano and Kanazawa stations. Water monitoring sensors along the tracks showed levels that exceeded safety limits, and potential landslide risks near tunnel entrances forced a complete shutdown. The Nanao line, the Himi line, and the Johanna line are entirely out of service. Multiple sections of track have been submerged, and engineers report ballast washouts where the ground beneath the rails has been swept away. The Hokuriku Expressway has been closed across several prefectural junctions due to near-zero visibility and water pooling on the asphalt. The JMA, fire departments, and local governments continue to broadcast urgent instructions to the public across all media platforms, cell networks, and outdoor loudspeaker systems. With the rain expected to continue into the night, residents must strictly follow these safety rules. If your neighborhood is under a Level 4 evacuation instruction or Level 5 emergency safety measure, move immediately to a designated public shelter if a safe route is available. Do not wait for nightfall when visibility disappears. If floodwaters have already flooded your street, making outdoor travel dangerous, do not attempt to wade or drive through the water. Move immediately to the highest floor of a structurally sound reinforced concrete building. Stay as far away from nearby hillsides as possible to protect yourself from sudden landslides. Do not approach riverbanks, drainage canals, or agricultural dikes to check on property or crops. Water levels can rise several feet in minutes, and embankments can collapse without warning. If you are in a safe area that has lost power or clean water, preserve your phone batteries, store any remaining clean water in clean containers, and stay tuned to local NHK radio broadcasts for updates on water trucks and supply drops. The atmospheric setup remains highly volatile. The JMA warns that the linear precipitation zone could shift slightly or expand its focus over the next 6 hours, bringing severe weather risks to new areas across central and northern Japan.